There are currently, as of the time of recording this video, 85 champions in the Path of Champions. Endless amounts of content, constrained by a finite amount of upgrade resources. I'm often asked questions like, is X champion good, and should I upgrade this champion? Well, worry not, because in this video I'll give you a list of the best champions per region in terms of cost effectiveness, meaning a lot of the relics you use on them are acquired through beating specific adventures, or are cheap commons and rares, and you won't need any specific epic relics that make the champions actually work. With that introduction out of the way, let's begin. Noxus. Swain. He is one of the strongest champions in the Path of Champions. That's it. You can probably run any set of relics and you'll win. The deck has a very clear game plan. It basically plays itself. You remove units with your spells, while you burn your opponent whenever possible. If you really want a budget build, take Scourge Stash for a cheap Swain, Grand General's Counterplan for a free spell every turn, or an emergency Swain, and Lost Chapter will give you some extra spell mana to play a spell alongside the Swain. Piltover and Zaun. Jinx. Like Swain, her deck basically plays itself. You control the board with spells, you cast Super Mega Death Rocket whenever you can, and you burn your opponent with your power. It helps that all her relics are acquired in adventures. Loose Cannon's payload instantly levels up Jinx and gives you a handful of removal. Chemtech Duplicator ups the value of your spellcasts, if you haven't killed the opponent by that point, and Luden's Tempest gives your spell some extra damage. The deck has basically all it needs to succeed baseline. Targon. Morgana. She's a bit trickier to make work, mostly because her game plan relies a lot on stalling and controlling the board, and you can't just kill your opponent with ease. Grand General's Counterplan and Archangel Staff are probably the best choices. It ensures that you can cast at least one Dark Binding per turn, and that should buy you enough time to find a way to win with the invokes. The last slot is basically a flex slot. When she's Veiled, Guardian Angel and Chemtech Duplicator are all good choices. Bilgewater. Misfortune. Misfortune's powers and deck lend themselves to some flexible gameplay styles. You can lose Laurent Blade Rack to challenge most units into Misfortune's skill in order to keep control of the board, and you can also get a lot of items on your units by spamming Misfortune's champion spell by using the Grand General's Counterplan. You can sort of build focusing on neither style of gameplay, but if you're really on a budget, you can just combine both with a Banshee's Veil in order to get a cheap but still competent build where you attack to control the board with her skill and defend yourself by casting Make It Rain during the opponent's attack. Bandle City. Yuumi. One of the few champions that actually benefits from a full build, the epic relic you get from beating the 4-star Aurelian Soul. Just slot that in alongside a Gale Force and your opponents will struggle to stick anything onto the board. If you're really worried about removal, you take Banshee's Veil in your last slot, and if not, you just take the Warmog's Armor to give your unit regeneration. Your units are going to be massive and it will be very hard for your opponent to remove them, so they'll either succumb to them by either running out of removal or running out of jump blockers. Freljord. Anivia. Even at a low star total, Anivia is already good, so a 6-star Anivia is an absolute control monster. You take Grand General's Counterplan and Archangel Staff to play Harsh Winds whenever you can, and that translates into you ramping very quickly. Guardian Angel acts as a sort of supplement to that playstyle by allowing you to generate multiple Anivias. More harsh winds and more skills means more mana and more stats to steamroll your opponents. Jump blockers are going to be a pain though. Shurima. Kaisa. Kaisa is a keyword sharing machine at 6 stars. Just take anything that gives keywords. I personally recommend full build and Dreams of Yordles to turn second skin into a insane combat trick. The last slot can be whatever you want. Ludenzek for more damage or on Kaisa's skill. Banshee's Veil for protection. The possibilities are endless, honestly. Most games end when you play Kaisa, so you don't really need anything else. Shadow Elves. Viego. Corrupted Star Fragment, that's all you really need. Everything else is optional. Banshee's Veil, Guardian Angel, Condenser are all good, but they're all a bonus. You just focus on killing your own units and your opponents, keep control of the board, and you will get even more benefits if you have Viego on the board. Your unit's attacks will eventually be so massive that your opponents will just die from the overwhelm damage. Ionia. Lilia. Random items are always good, and I really like playing Lilia because I really like giving my cards a billion epic items. She's the perfect champion for multiple Guardian's Orb. Now the duration is where opinions differ. Some people say 3 Guardian's Orb for maximum item generation. I disagree. I feel like that is way too unreliable of a game plan. It is preferable to do 2 Guardian's Orb and 1 Stalker's Blade. That way Lilia generates a Dream-laden bow whenever she's summoned and when she leaves the landmark, which makes it easier to go infinite with her, especially once you get 2 Lilias on the board. Demacia. Lux. Demacian champions have the problem of their relic setups are either exceedingly expensive or they're just weak, even at 6 stars. Lux is the best compromise. You get Lux down on 5 mana and then on 6 mana you use the Falling Comet and MTech Duplicator to get a bunch of Final Sparks and remove a significant amount of threats from the board. The problem really is getting there. I don't think there's any cheap relic that helps, so you need to try not to fall too far behind on the board to execute the game plan. Runeterra. Evelyn. Now, hear me out, I know Fiddlesticks is a lot stronger, but his relic setup looks like this. That's way too expensive. With Evelyn you can do Crown Guard Inheritance plus Tempest Blade. Both can be acquired in adventures and both can be procced a bunch of times with Evelyn, with her constant level ups. Most opponents can't really deal with constant board-wide stuns and rally effects. And who doesn't like growing their units to an absurd degree? I do. Though most games end rather quickly after you level up Evelyn about twice. For the last slot either take Banshee's Veil or Gun General's counterplan. It's a flex slot really. Hope you learned something by watching this video, and I hope you consider watching another, or subscribing if you haven't already. That will be it for today. See you next time.